Welcome to session 9 already. So today we're going to be talking about each particular test with the mobile application testing. So, and if you know that mobile application testing, just as desktop or websites, on your PCs, it requires and focuses on the quality and the performance of the final product. But today we are specifically going to be talking about the testing tactics that the mobile applications should be facing, and it should be put under the certain tests. So only after you know what you're doing with the applications and the number of tests that your application is going to be going through, only then you can consider yourself a pro. So I also, as a part of the homework, I will be giving you a very, very interesting document. The document that I will also give you an application, okay? Here in school, we have an application that is under the test, so not in the production version, and we are under non-disclosure agreement. I will give you an application from the marketplace, but it is the version of our application. And I'm going to give you a document, and it's like a test plan. And out of this document, you will be able to test pretty much anything. So, but if you find the bugs in the production version, okay, I'm gonna open a project in Bugzilla. It's gonna be a different project with the different credentials. So you guys will be testing it as a part of our program. So I'm really excited to give you guys this application. And this application is like a social application. All you will need is to sign up, watch the video, and then you will receive some bonus cards, and it's about like 5 cents per video. So it's kind of, fun. And at the same time, you're going to be testing and taking this application through the document. So, sounds good to me, sounds good to you, I hope. So, and let's just start with the challenges, I noticed one thing, guys, that last time on a session 7 slides, I added more slides than I anticipated to do, so because we haven't gone through them yet. I also asked you to do some self-studies when we were doing the logs, right? And I asked you to go through some slides that I posted and see where else, through what devices and through what distributions you can get more logs and use it, like for example from the iTunes, and just for your information, just in case one day you need that. So let's just talk about the challenges with the mobile application testing, because if you know the challenges, you're going to be more confident in testing these applications. So there are device fragmentation, right, challenge, and in-house versus outsourced testing, and availability of the mobile testing tools, and the application lifecycle testing. So let's just cover pretty much whatever we have. And as we know, for the device fragmentation, and I was giving you earlier the definition of the device fragmentation. So for people who are not, who weren't with us or who didn't watch the video, I will repeat that the device fragmentation because of the variety of the different operating systems, like an iPhone and Android and Windows Phone and BlackBerry, there are more multiple versions of the operating system for the device. So basically, testing your application for different devices with the different operating systems, with the different versions of the operating systems, especially as we know, right, the Google have so many active operating systems. Then the variety of the screen resolutions, screen forms, battery stages, connectivity stages. This is all under the device fragmentation. So in-house versus outsourced testing, and this is probably one of the biggest challenges we are facing here in the industry, not only in the mobile application testing industry, it's just everywhere, wherever the development is going on, especially if it's outsourced, okay? So we have to find the correct way to communicate with the outsourced teams that could be working, or even us working remotely for some companies. So this is another big thing, that the teams, not like older days when everybody were under the same roof, so you can just make a call or just drop by in the office or the cubicle and just say, hey, listen, something doesn't work. So now it is something we have to face. So what is the most correct way to communicate with the outsourced team, guys? Give me the answer. What is the most convenient and less painful way to communicate with the outsourced teams? What is that? As a testers, Skype, Vladimir, just think, Vladimir, where do you live? And Ben and Irina, where do you guys live? Email. Okay, where do you guys live? Okay, New Jersey. Okay, Boston. All right, Boston, Massachusetts. Okay, Texas. Okay. Some Connecticut, Illinois, Florida, and guys, it's not the worst case where you live. Anybody live in Russia, Ukraine, Belarus, former republics like Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, whatever? Probably, if you're working remotely. Now think of the guys, just think of the way that you're sleeping. Okay, you're sleeping, especially if there's a more like 3 hours difference, right? So, which is always the case between East Coast and West Coast. And now somebody is start calling you, emailing you, and your phone or Skype goes crazy. So, because you didn't do something right. What is it that you didn't do something right? You are a tester, you tested the product. So you did not put the correct steps in your bug report, in Bugzilla, in Jira, whatever bug tracking data system you're using. So your report is going to save you lots of problems, okay, from calling you in the middle of the night. That's why I did not give you permission to put bugs yet, because we need to discuss, okay, how you put bugs together. Make sure you're not putting any duplicates, okay? Make sure you are putting the correct order. Make sure every step that you're putting to reproduce the bug, you have to go through it yourself like you haven't seen it before. So it is a very, very important thing. What we're going to do with this group, I'm going to open a new, after we go through all the bugs, right? And I see lots of people are working on bug fix verification and just confirming the bugs that are open or closed or whatever it is. I will, for your group, will open a new project, okay? And I will let you start the next batch of the bugs, that you find in the latest version. Okay, so it's going to be all yours and you can be proud of it. Then we have the availability of a mobile testing tools. So, and right now, you know, the further we go with the application testings, we see more and more tools available on the market. Then, of course, challenge is application lifecycle testing. So, what is it? Lifecycle testing, what it could be? It could be, like, for example, the wide use of the agile development methodologies. It's recently is giving a big rise. Okay, then we have the frequent updates in the mobile platforms, especially the Apple, right? They are famous with updating the operating systems. So, and also end users, they are expecting a quick feature upgrades or an instant bug fixes, because if the user is not happy with the application, you know, your company is losing money. So these kind of the challenges, you know, we are facing every day, and of course all of us are pretty much have to be aware of that. So most, like we were talking about the device fragmentation, there are several factors for device selection, okay? So when you are using the device selection, you have to always consider like OS version and a screen resolution and a form factor, just like we were talking about the device fragmentation. It is a big part of the device selection. Then you have the emulators versus physical devices, and as we would be going through the differences between the emulator and physical devices, then you will have to decide, okay, what is the best, you know, for this certain test, or do you have this device or you don't have this device. You can create it, but there are also pros and cons for the emulator and physical devices. So then we have the beta testing, and beta testing is the very, very effective method of the mobile application testing. So it's basically, there are lots of enthusiasts, you know, that you can release your application for beta testing. They're not gonna give you bad reviews or anything. They're just enjoying your company, they're enjoying your product. So, but here, because, you know, we can consider ourselves when we receive the build, right? We can consider ourselves not only the QA engineers, we can consider ourselves like a beta testers. Why? Because we are representing the user. So in here, we have to consider, so the network density, and how the application behaves on a specific devices. Of course, we're going to be talking about how to select the device, you know, what is the most popular. The marketing team, the technical marketing team is always going to give you the list of devices, list of the operating systems, you know, because there is constant analysis going on of the market. And if you just Google, for example, any information about the mobile, like for example, you know, what was the sales of the Apple devices for 2018, or how many people using Android. Also, a very interesting statistics you can get from how many people using a specific operating system. Like, you know, right now on the market, we have a few operating systems for Google, right? We have a KitKat, which is 4.4. We have a Lollipop, we have Marshmallow, we have Nougat, we have or you're actually, if you ever need to make the decision on what operating system you should be testing your application, please go and Google the number of users. You will see, I can tell you in front, that right now the majority of the users, and you have to understand, I'm not only talking about the US, okay, or Silicon Valley. Majority of people are using the Marshmallow, which is 6.x. So it has the highest number of users having this devices that are running on that certain operating system. So also please just consider that it's in here in the US, yeah, we're on 4G LTE, we're pretty lucky. But, if you want the globalization, okay, not only localization, just globalization. Do you know the difference between globalization and localization testing, guys? Localization tests and globalization tests? Yes. All right. Very good. So you understand where I'm coming from. So globalization is when your application can cover the global. Okay. So in any country, your application could be used. Localization testing, it is particularly fit into this certain country, the time format, the currency format, and so on and so on. So, but if you want your application to get global, you absolutely have to work on several points while you are testing. So some of the devices not as lucky. Maybe some feature phones, right? We were talking about the differences about the feature phone and a smartphone. And it can cover up to 4G, right? So there's no such a thing as 4G LTE. Or on the other world, or in some rural areas, people are still using the 3G technology. So all this you can try. Remember, and it is good, that we guys were in the middle of our program for mobile application testing. So I showed you on the emulator how you can basically, play with the network. So we just, and you can just do it, right? So just to see, how your application is doing on the lower speed networks. So then, can we do global app with only English is the main language? Yes, you can. Okay, if the country accepts that, you can do. And actually, most of the globalization is done in English language. So another thing, guys, is of course mobile application testing on cloud. So I can tell you that the cloud testing, it is very, very wisely used in the industry. And cloud computing itself provides a web-based mobile testing environment where the application can be deployed and tested and managed. So basically, it's one of the biggest testings in here. So why it is so popular is because the cloud testing environments offer highly regulated and pre-configured architectures. So and it can dramatically reduce the defects associated with the erroneous configuration or test environments. So cloud computing is a pretty good option for the for testing your application. And of course the cloud-based testing environment, it is real-time testing results. So and why it's good, it's because the defects can be analyzed while the tests are running. So it is a pretty good option for testing. And let's just move to another one. So of course, you know, we were talking many times about the network connectivity, and I can tell you that beside that, what we were, I was showing you with the emulator, there are plenty of network simulation tools available to test the mobile applications in the various network speeds and bandwidth variations. And I can tell you, if you perform these tests, and if you learn how to perform this test, and you know, these tools, they're not too complicated. You know, you just have to install it, connect it, and just start switching the buttons. So, but the amount of impact, when you are testing on a different networks, you can find lots of bugs. So please, if you have this opportunity and to install some network simulator at home, try to play around is this. And of course, guys, it's a manual testing versus automated testing. When do we start automation? Okay, where is the line where the manual testing stops, where the automation begins? So you have to understand one simple thing, that the automation process, okay, itself is very expensive to the company, because while you're sitting and writing scripts, nothing is happening, right? So your manager, I would also consider asking the manager, okay, is the application is ready to be automated? And for you, you have to decide. So if you're consistently repeating the test procedure, like for example in regression testing, or during the development stage, so is it worth to automate that part? Okay, so or automation should be done only in scenarios when the solution life cycle is long and the application is growing and evolving. Probably one of the biggest decisions we have to make when we decide to automate, that the scale and frequency of regression testing is high. So a large chunk of test cases include existing functionality test cases. So it is kind of the decision that when you feel overwhelmed, you know, doing the repetitive tasks. So maybe if you know how to automate, then probably it is time to do that. But there are some scenarios that requires your ears, your eyes, right? You cannot automate it. It requires the human touch, as I say, okay? And nobody can automate this thing when you have to see if the quality, for example, is right? So very, 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 you know, you have to make the decisions. The manager have to make the decisions. All right, we have basically, this is the types of the mobile application testing. Look at the slide and see. Basically, we have 8 types that your application has to go through. It's a functional, performance, memory leakage, and security testing. I'm gonna talk to you about that separately. Interrupt testing, usability, installation, very, very big test. Operational testing, and like I said, security. So security testing and the memory leakage testing, they stand separately, but memory leakage is always a part of the security. Well, the industry decided that there should be a standalone memory leakage testing, and security testing is usually done by the security teams, okay, or people who qualify to do the security, especially on the financial applications. So it pays very well, and we can, it's mostly automation. It is automation, not mostly, because it's impossible to see, for example, the same memory leakage or data breach, right? with this kind of with manual testing. So let's just talk, and I want you to understand a deeper procedures for each test. So basically, like we know, the functional testing of mobiles, it's normally consists in the areas of testing user interactions, as well as testing the transactions. So first and most, of course, you have to make sure that you have to verify that all documented requirements are implemented. So if it's not implemented, you just have to follow and wait until it gets implemented. So basically, you have to be sure that all features they work as expected. Always, especially if the application is new, texts, logos, images, text captions, other user interface elements. And I always tell my students, guys, we never do one test at a time. We always perform several tests, right? So you see, even if I say functional test, I'm also asking you to test the graphic user's interface, right? There are so many things in the industry that go together. It just depends. What are you focusing in? So it is very important to do the localization or globalization if your application is qualified to do the globalization. So you guys have a privilege of being multilingual, okay? So and for the mobile application testing, because everybody want more and more audience, so more and more languages are being supported in the application, and you are all bilingual. So don't be lazy. Switch to your language, because you might see an absolutely interesting things if you switch to your language, especially if there was no native speaker. And we know we have our own slang, we have our own dialects, right? We build the sentence differently than some people who just know the language and they translate it from their native one. So I see these things, from time to time, and it's very interesting. And I say, no, it should be done in a different order, so different words should be used. So localization is a very, very interesting field in our testing. Then, of course, the ease of navigation and screen transition. And here we are talking not only the navigation and screen transition, the intuitiveness of your application. And this is what Steve Jobs, remember, always was telling the employees that he had. He said, we have to develop the product. So when the person takes it for the first time, he knows exactly where he has to go, what button he should or she should press, okay, to get to the next screen or to the next level or whatever it is. So what I want you to understand, that intuitiveness of your application, the ease of usage of your application, is a big part of the success. Of course, the next one, the response speed. Okay, how long after you press the key the application should respond. Okay, we're going to be going through slides where I'm going to start giving you this information. So, and of course, the intuitiveness of the touch interface. So this you have to, you know, and it's going to be the time, guys, when you start working, and if you start working in a mobile application testing industry, it's going to be the time when you're going to start working, and the first thing, you will need to get familiar with the application or with the product that you are testing. And these are the points that should be absolutely covered: the documentation, okay, and the features and the intuitiveness. So it's pretty much in here at the first page. Then we have the performance test, okay? And if you can see, the performance tests also include like network tests, right? So when the network out of coverage area, and you know, there's also the part of the interruption tests a little bit in here. What if we're out of coverage area, like for example, we're under the bridge, there is no coverage, right? Or in the woods, and then we hit the road and we have the coverage again. Also, if you can see, there is a part of the load test right in here, and a load test is could be the stress test. So performance tests just include all these points that you have to consider. So just think of it, and here in the performance test, you can get really creative, because this is the functionality and performance test. You can do lots of things. So the only thing I don't want you to just get lost, you know, while you're testing. So I will teach you a little bit later how to create the base of the testing and how to organize your work, because organizing your work, it is something very important, not to mix yourself up or overwhelm yourself, because as you know, testing is an ocean. Okay, testing could never be completed. It could be stopped. It's just like a maintenance in your home, or painting when you're remodeling your home, you know, you just have to stop because it can go forever, right? With the testing, it's the same thing. You test it, you know, thoroughly, but it is of course impossible to test everything. There is no perfect hardware or software on the market, if you know, right? So then we have this memory leakage test, and of course, if you can see this this slide, you will understand that it is very hard to catch it manually. Okay, so part of the security testing, verifying if, for example, your program runs for a very extended time and consume additional memory, and verify if the memory is allocated frequently, just requesting memory, shared memory is not released. I mean, it's all the security terms. Maybe it doesn't make sense, or you don't know what it is right now. That's okay, guys, you know, little by little, because when you are getting into anything, you're going to be facing at least the terminology, you know, you'll have an idea what it is. So let me just give you a little bit what is it, the memory leakage. So and you probably, never heard and never bothered. So let me explain to you. So what is memory leak? Memory leak, basically it's a type of resource leak, and it occurs when a computer program incorrectly manages memory allocation. So, and when the object in the memory could not be accessed. Okay, so and usually these objects, they are stored in the memory, but the code cannot access it. So a memory leak has a symptom similar to a number of other problems, and generally can be diagnosed by the security team or programmer, and he or she can write the source code. So memory leak, what is so bad about that? It's basically reduces the performance of your device by reducing the amount of available memory. So worst case scenario, when it's too much of the available memory may become allocated. It's like, sometime when you're on your computer, you're running the defrag. Anybody familiar with the defrag? It's basically collects all allocated cells, right, the memories, and it takes for a long time to defrag, to put this hard disk together and the memory together. So your phone, unfortunately, does not have such a, powerful defrag. So here, and we have to be really careful. So in case, sometime when the memory allocation is a lot, your device can stop working correctly, or your application can fall, or, the system slows down due to thrashing. So, and it cannot be detectable just looking at this. So, we have to run a special programs where this memory allocation could be detected. So, okay, now the biggest test in the industry, right? We are having the interruption test. Okay, so every time, guys, please, if you go to the mobile application testing interview, okay, there are several things you have to absolutely mention. Okay, interruption tests, ADB commands, right? Different operating systems that you're going to be safe with this. So interruption tests, some of them we were doing in our main table, right? So, but it is pretty much, you can add anything in here. What I would add to the interruption test. The biggest interruption your phone is facing is the lock screen, right? This is basically when you're not using for some time, right? Your phone, the lock screen, your application could be running. So lock screen. Battery low, battery full when charging, okay? Charger in, charger out. Of course, phone calls, SMS. Also interruptions, the notifications, all right, from your updates, okay? Alarms is a big interruption. Network in, network out, on and off. So, or device shut off. Any other interruption tests you can think of, just type it. If I miss something, this is pretty much, every day we are, facing, because, our batteries, go low, and just think of it, guys, everything is interruption. Switching between apps, the minimizing and maximizing the applications, okay? So this is, the alarm is here, right? Alexia, alarm is right here. So switching between another one, guys, this is the biggest one, and this is probably the biggest nightmare for the whole industry, when we get the OS update. Yes, absolutely, Tim, we're talking in unison with you today. So yes, application is the OS update, and this is really, this is the biggest one, because we don't know, usually the updates is the newest one, especially if it's not just the build, right? If it's the OS, like for example, from 7 to 8, right? Or now it's going to be the updates and the from 8 to 9 to P, right? Or Google OS P. So, and they are promising lots and lots of, features. So everybody in the industry kind of, waiting what is going to bring, and how my application is going to behave on this OS 9, and is it going to be the problem or whatever it is. So basically, interruption test is the big things. So all alerts, right, in that you are receiving, and the more and more, but you can say that it's not just interruption testing, it is also like a functional testing, right? And usability, how your application behaves. So, but for usability tests, we have our own points. You have to understand, at some point when the application is being developed, you don't have any control, how the graphic user interface, the size of the buttons, it's been all decided before you. Just leave it alone, because when we talk about the required sizes, it's pretty much decided before you even join the company, because if there is no product, they don't need you or me, of course. So, but also ergonomic testing, right? Ergonomic testing, it's it does have its pros and cons. Like, for example, how would we decide if this particular key is wide, for example, enough for all fingers? We all have different size of fingers, right, that we are pressing. We have small, tiny people, right? And we have big guys and girls, the fingers are different. So I would say it's very hard to convince the designers to have them, to fit your decision. But, for example, one thing, if the buttons are too close to each other, for example, cancel and next, right? You can make a suggestion to have more space. If you're constantly hitting the wrong button, then maybe it's time for you to ask, would you consider to just widen the space between the button, the keys? So this is kind of things that you can ask. Well, another big thing, while we are talking about the changes that you would like to do to the application, you have to be very, very ethical, guys. Ethical in a sense of, we are there to find problems, okay, with somebody's work. Okay, so some people, they can take it personally. So if you have a major suggestion, why don't you just go to your manager, say, hey, listen, this is a thing that I think is gonna improve the quality of the product for the users. Would you consider that? Bring it to the meeting. We can discuss, all of us can discuss, and then maybe the manager, not you. Do not knock at somebody's door, otherwise, It's not going to end up good for you. So let the manager decide how he or she is going to handle the situation, because he has an authority to do that. You don't, okay? Do not jump into the application design or product design just because you decided it's not fitting your fingers. Chain of command, hierarchy, yes, absolutely, Mikhail. So it is very important not to jump over anybody's head, you know, so your manager wouldn't be surprised if somebody said, oh, that guy said, and said, huh, really? You know, I haven't even talked to him. So please always be very, very ethical. So we will be talking more about the usability test, because here you can see some of the points. Like, for example, the same color, right? And you have to understand that our brain is working very, very interesting. Once we know the color and once we know the color of the button, we always expect the same function, right? So we're only gonna read, believe it or not, we're only gonna read that button once, okay, the text. After that, our brain is gonna store the information by color, okay? So next time, if you see the same color, you know, your brain knows exactly what this is key about. So the color is very important, and make sure with the same functionality your buttons is having the same color. So tapping, zoom in and zoom out, guys, you know, very important. You know, lots of people, you know, in my team, you know, when they started working, they were ignoring this zoom in and zoom out, and I see lots of students now also ignoring. Believe it or not, for some reason it just does not click to the newbies that zooming in and out is a pretty complicated procedure. Okay, so just make sure you turn your device to the landscape mode, zoom in and zoom out. Landscape mode, did we talk about the landscape mode before? Did we? Landscape, no? Okay, thanks team. So the thing is, if your application, I think we did, right? Mikhail, we did. Mikhail said we did, then we did. Okay, at least one. If one is saying yes, then, you know, Ben is saying yes. Tim, good morning. You probably weren't with us, but it's okay. You're always with us and helping. So good to have you. Anyway, so yes, landscape and zoom in and zoom out, guys. You know, please, 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 do not forget that. So going back, application should be going back from the place you are to the previous screen. We call it screen mocking. Okay, so we know exactly how each screen is, what is the previous screen, what is the next screen. So again, you know, seems very easy, but it's a lot of work in the background for the application, not to jump 2 screens back, right? Just screen by screen by screen. I would highly recommend you guys doing this test frequently. You know, screen by screen going back, screen by screen going next. So please do it, okay? So another big thing, you know, especially when the application is new, the menus, the text seems to be, you know, too much of the information, and it takes too much space. It's so overloaded. Also, like we're testing right now, you know, I see that lots of screens were pretty much abandoned during the application development life cycle. So, but the titles of the screens, they remain. So this is a very common problem. I'll tell you what, there is a certain procedure how the application are being developed. So before the application, you know, somebody have an exact version is being created, or graphic designer and the owner of the application, they sit and decide how each screen is gonna look. Okay, and only after they receive the funding, or, you know, they start working on developing, this is how the application are being done. Most of the time it's a big presentation, screen after screen. What if the user says this is going to drop to this screen? If the user is doing right, it's going to go to the next screen. It's actually very, very interesting. Unfortunately, I do not have anything for you guys to show here in school. I'm showing how application is being developed. Screen by screen, just imagine that. But and this is how they make money. Okay, this is they make a big presentation, they invite the investors to grab money, to grab funding. Okay, if the investors, they're convinced, oh yeah, this application is gonna make money, it's gonna people gonna be interested, and this is how they're gonna benefit and make a profit, and they start investing. This is basically how each startup is being done anywhere. So but during the process of the development, when the developer is making the application, or some screens, they become, oh, we don't need the screen, we can combine something. This is where the problem happens. They might have the title, but the functionality could not match. Okay, the title. For example, enter, like recently we saw that, enter the month and the date of your birth, right? And then it's only the hours of the day is listed in minutes, in hours and minutes, because previously that screen wanted wanted the user put something else, but they did not change the functionality. Always check the fields, okay, guys? Now, this one is the installation test. Oh my God. I can talk about the installation test forever. Why? Because there's so many different scenarios in here. It's not only installation. It's part of the installation. For example, if the application is already in a marketplace, you have to Google it, okay? Try to access this application from the different browser with the minimum amount of keywords. Okay, then you can verify, then you can check if the icon is being displayed after the installation. It is just a normal, regular scenario. Uninstallation, just make sure that there is no garbage left, the icon is gone, all the native resources are being released. So this is like a part of the proper installation. So updates, you can try, okay, the updates. Aborting the installation or aborting an installation, okay. You can perform a different part of the interruption tests while the application is being installed, uninstalled, updated, okay. There are so many, of course, you want to have some devices that this application should not be, it's just not supporting this particular device. So installation on unsupported devices is as important as installation on the supported devices. Why? Because your application should handle this scenario gracefully. If your device is not qualified, okay, for this installation, it should give the intelligent message. Sorry, your device is not supported, right? It should not crash, it should not dump data, it should not start even installation, or it should just have the analysis. So please guys, do it. So side loading, okay, this is where people usually install, trying to install the application on unsupported devices. How? You have your APK, right? I gave you the Delta APK. Where do you think I got it? There is an extractor, APK extractor. You basically can install any application by using the third-party software, and it always calls APK extractor, or you will just, you will hit so many. You just Google. You basically can sideload any application with while extracting the APK. Use your Android Studio. It's not gonna say no. Okay, try it and see if your device can, can install this side application. Lots of people are using, they don't like to go to the marketplace. Lots of people just extracting and installing through the different ways. So security tests. Security tests like the memory leakage test, it is a very, very complicated. What we are doing, we're usually doing the our side of the security test, and it is going to be the part of the sanity checklist. So when we're verifying the login information, the encryption of the password, the encryption of the financial data. So this is kind of our the timeout sessions. What else? Just the regular thing that the user is doing when using the application. So client server side, it's all automations, and we're doing some authentication tests, of course. We have to we're having right now, especially we're having a different types of the authentication tests because our devices are now recognizing not only the password, right, or there is a patterns, right, there's a fingerprint, there's a face recognition. So there are many authentication methods right now and your application absolutely have to comply with such a thing. And of course, like I told you, we do not use the compatibility testing anymore in our industry, in the mobile application industry. We are using the platform and OS tests. And if you can see, again, it's a part of the device fragmentation because there's a different OSs and, of course, Android, iOS, Windows, BlackBerry in there. We accessing our, for example, web applications through the different browsers. I should probably add in here the Edge, right? And if you're having Edge and if you're having Windows 10 on your resume, guys, expect the question, what is new in Windows 10? Not related to my industry, to my mobile application testing. I'm just sharing you that people who are testing the web, websites, they're usually faced with this question. So what was new in Windows 10 compared to the other previous operating systems? So it is Edge, okay? This is what they want you to reply with. So, and of course, we can do the Firefox and Chrome and the Internet Explorer and Safari, and this is basically how we are accessing our web applications. And memory size, OS versions, resolutions, and if you can see, the interruption tests also is a platform and OS test. Mikhail is asking the question, what is the most popular types of applications among users? Entertainment, business, health, fitness, fashion, and etc. What's my opinion? We're pretty much in a social networking, entertainment, and fitness. Fashion not so much, business, well, we do the financial business, but it's kind of we're not involved in this unless you're working for the Wall Street or you're trading stock on the stock market. So we usually use like financial applications. we do and we go, okay? Like, for example, we make a mobile deposit, or we check our balance, or we pay our bill. That's it. So the majority of applications are pretty much like an entertainment, and as I showed you guys before, the entertainment could be different. It's not necessarily like a music application. Games, it depends. Games are not, well, of course there are millions of games, right, on the devices. Again, it depends on the audience, okay, what games. But I still think that with all this almost virtual reality, like a set-up boxes, like a wearables, we are not really talking, we're talking about the mobile, like wearables, is a mobile, but it's not like you're having like your smartphone. It depends on the audience, age. I know my 12-year-old, he likes to play games, all his friends, but he also enjoys just putting his device, on the shelf, and go and play his Xbox, for example, right? So shopping, it depends, but I think the entertainment and the health and fitness, this is where people are using on a regular basis. Why? Because it is not, well, educational is a part of the entertainment arena. So this is included into the entertainment, and like I told you guys, the entertainment is not only music. So shopping, Vladimir put shopping in there. Unless you're shopaholic, spending 24/7, spending money, maybe for some people it is shopping thing, but mostly people are spending more time on something that does not require spending a penny or so. So this is what I think. And also part of the platform and OS test is the localization and also the different time zone support tests. That's it for today. I'm gonna post your slides maybe in a half an hour. I'm gonna stay in my office because I have class in the morning, and you're gonna have your slides, also the homework, and it was good to be with you again, guys. We'll see each other at our regular 6 o'clock on Thursday. All right, bye.